Peter's early kill list plays out like a crash course in how not to exist. It kicks off when he flattens the Roadrunner in the second episode, a gag that immediately brands him as both a lousy driver and a walking liability. Not long after, a tour bus pulls up to the Griffin house, and Peter's reflex is to grab a shotgun and wipe out the entire visiting band, treating friendly guests like an invading army. He then decides medical credentials are optional, slaps on a doctor's coat, and saves a patient with a defibrillator routine that ends with a flatline. When he briefly fills in for death, he managed to kill 2 airline pilots mid-flight just by tapping them, leaving a civilian to land the plane because Peter's temp work has the same success rate as his parenting. Speaking of which, he leaves a baby unattended in a bathtub after giving the world's most useless safety talk, then later moonlights as a knockoff Mary Poppins, who somehow kills 2 kids and hides them under the bed like clutter. The show doesn't stop at strangers either. Peter accidentally gases his whole family with carbon monoxide, then later cooks them alive in a kitchen experiment, and proud of how well they've turned out. Even Brian isn't safe. Peter executes him over stolen chicken and a cream soda, finishing the scene with a mobster one-liner. And when he finally tries to help Meg by confronting her bully, Connie ends up dead thanks to a fire extinguisher prank that escalates from slapstick to homicide in seconds.
Say, can you do me a favor? You see that fire extinguisher there?
Dad, that's enough!
Peter's murder parade doesn't slow down once the writers figure out the formula. If he can touch it, drive it, or misunderstand it, something dies. When he stumbles into a Vietnam flashback, he casually guns down a villager as if it's just another Tuesday errand, and the show plays it as background noise, which is somehow darker than focusing on it. Later, during one of his many terrible jobs, he operates a forklift with all the skill of a toddler on a sugar rush and crushes a coworker flat. That theme of occupational homicide sticks around. Peter even managed to kill a fellow inmate while in prison, proving that confinement doesn't make him any less of a hazard. His attempts at bonding with animals fare just as badly. At one point, he wipes out an entire flock of birds with a machine gun, a sequence that looks less like slapstick and more like the Griffin family Christmas turkey hunt gone nuclear. Then there's the deer incident, where Peter tries to care for an injured animal but ends up finishing it off by accident, the comedy being how long the scene drags before the inevitable. And in truly surreal gag, he gets into a fight with an inflatable tube man, the kind you see flapping around outside car dealerships, and wins by popping it, a kill that counts only because Family Guy treats property damage like a first-degree murder. Each of these moments fits the same pattern. Peter doesn't need malice to rack up bodies, just access to anything sharper than a spoon.
Evelyn? Evelyn?
Peter's streak escalates once the show leans harder into surreal violence. In one cutaway, he launches a missile strike that takes out a children's hospital, the kind of gag where the punchline is literally a smoking crater. Another time, he borrows Death's Scythe and slices through a classroom of kids in one swing, like a lawnmower in a Disney nightmare. His vendetta against animals keeps going, too. He kills a cow in the kitchen while trying to prove how fresh his cooking is, then later mows down a whale with a harpoon in a scene that plays like Moby Dick but dumber. Even his parenting continues to cross into felony territory. He knocks Stewie unconscious with a ladder only to shrug it off as if baby concussion is part of home maintenance. When Chris annoys him, Peter reacts with a blow that would register on a police report, not a sitcom script. The writers also get creative with scale. Peter crushes a man with a giant novelty coin, reminding viewers that his sense of humor is lethal in the most literal sense. And then there's the time he obliterates Cleveland's house while moving it, treating structural demolition like an offhand prank. Every gag in this stretch has the same DNA. Peter plays it casual, the setup is goofy, and the payoff is body count.
A way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Like this. The key to that, Lois, is big rock, small birds.
Peter's later kills take the running joke and blow it wide open, sometimes literally. In one cutaway, he reenacts a slasher movie, hacking his way through a group of camp counselors with the kind of casual cheer you'd expect from someone grilling burgers, not stacking bodies. Then he goes sci-fi. While messing with advanced tech, Peter disintegrates a bystander into dust, proving that giving him access to anything more complicated than a toaster is basically signing someone's death certificate. His streak with vehicles doesn't stop either. He plows through pedestrians during another driving gag, a callback to the Roadrunner hit and run, but multiplied, because why settle for 1 victim when you can rack up a dozen? The friends and family aren't safe angle returns too. In one gag, he blasts Quagmire with a shotgun during a misunderstanding, only for the show to brush it off in the next scene like nothing happened. Brian takes more punishment as well, including a sequence where Peter runs him over without hesitation, cementing his role as both pet owner and executioner. Even Meg's on the list. She gets knocked out cold in a gag that turns into an unspoken, what if this one actually stuck? The pattern by this point is obvious. The writers don't just use Peter as a buffoon, they use him as a reset button, where death itself is just another cutaway joke waiting to be undone.
メグちゃん、プッスまた最低だよ。
お父様の願いに従います。
俺がおならしただよ。
By the time the kill list reaches its deepest stretch, Peter has racked up a body count that borders on cartoon genocide. He goes full biblical at one point, recreating the plagues of Egypt and slaughtering livestock en masse, because nothing says primetime comedy like reenacting divine punishment with a Rhode Island accent. In another gag, he mows through a crowd with a chain gun, grinning like he's at a carnival booth. Even celebrities don't escape. Peter off's characters modeled after famous figures and quick one-liners, the joke being less about the kill and more about the shock value of who got targeted. Entire groups vanish in his wake too. He sinks a boatload of people during a fishing trip gone wrong, then levels a building during one of his projects, leaving dozens implied dead under rubble. And of course, the chicken fights count. Every time Peter goes 12 rounds with Ernie the giant chicken, collateral damage wipes out bystanders, storefronts, and occasionally whole city blocks. The series doesn't even pretend to tally those victims. It leans on the absurdity that Quahog rebuilds itself like nothing happened. At this stage, Peter's kills stop being individual gags and become running commentary. The world around him is disposable, the death toll is part of the scenery, and the humor comes from how casually he walks away from destruction that would make headline news anywhere else. Peter's final stretch of kills shows how the writers treat him less like a sitcom dad and more like a natural disaster in cargo shorts. He blows up a gas station in one cutaway, sending cars, customers, and the attendant into the sky like fireworks, then later topples a skyscraper whilst trying to help with construction, turning hundreds of implied deaths into background slapstick. His dabbling in history is just as bad. He guns down Revolutionary War soldiers during a time travel gag, treating one of America's founding battles like laser tag with live rounds. Then he goes mythological, killing off Greek gods in a cutaway that turns Mount Olympus into a pile of corpses. Even small-scale moments keep the streak alive. He strangles a neighbor in a fit of rage, crushes Stewie under a falling object in a throwaway joke, and wipes out a fast food mascot for no reason other than convenience. By the time the list is complete, Peter has killed animals, strangers, friends, family, celebrities, historical figures, mythological beings, and whole crowds of innocents. The consistency isn't who dies, but how. Always sudden, always brushed off, and always played for a laugh that lands somewhere between absurd comedy and casual horror.
Oh no.
Peter's kills are crazy, but Family Guy's darkest moments? Even worse. Watch every time Family Guy got dark.